as I mentioned earlier, those of you who hadn't seen the shit that went down at Washington Square Park the other night, a lot of you know that it's coming from the mayor's office, also coming from NYPD, and Washington Square Park Conservancy are the ones who initiated it. The 10 o'clock curfew, but they're using the stormtroopers of the NYPD to go ahead and force people out of the park, and not just force them out of the park, but chase them down the street once they are out of the park, even dragging them out of restaurants if they try to run in there to get away from the police chasing them. And before anyone says anything, no, they had not done anything other than being in the park. Motor scooter cops are basically trailing on the other street. Thanks for tuning in. At least I know it's getting to Facebook. I'm assuming Twitter as well. So all of you know NYPD has been heavy-handed on people in the park at Washington Square Park at 10 p.m. The other night they chased people down the street, dragged them out of restaurants. This is part of it. So, as you know, NYPD has been going into Washington Square Park at 10 with like a militarized force to push people out of the park, chasing them down the street after they leave the park at Washington Square. The only reason I'm highlighting that is because it's one of those things that did hit the news, but people forget very quickly. There's a reason for people being out there. They specifically were targeting other individuals, taking advantage of that situation. But a military force, basically, which the NYPD is, to go ahead and go into Washington Square Park, which has been the center of community people of diverse backgrounds congregating for God knows how long. And if they want to say that there's all this stuff happening in Washington Square Park, why hasn't the Conservancy said anything all these past years and decades with all the stuff that actually has been going on there? So you have the scooters up front again. Okay, I see a scooter cop and a contingent of cops coming up in the back. So, as far as the cops, you've got about 4 up front. You have these cops. So, I'm going to give you a look at basically what's coming up behind the march. So, you've got Nicholas, who's over there controlling. You've got NYPD and others. Basically, every single one of the cars turning is following this small group. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be looking for an excuse to do something. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my estimate is 9, 10. There's probably about 15, if not 20 vans. And any of you watching the stream know the size of the march. They have these many vans, these many officers, cars, tying up traffic. But they're pissed off that people are calling them out on what they're doing. They're pissed off because they're calling out the NYPD on what they're doing at Washington Square Park, for one thing. What I've noticed also is that no matter what NYPD does, they always justify it. They're justifying the way that they're treating people at Washington Square Park. Regardless of what it is. You know, the curfew was always midnight. To go ahead and think that switching it to 10 would actually make a difference with anything happening is what some in the business world would call suit thinking. Basically, when someone puts on a necktie, it cuts off all the oxygen to the brain. And if you look on the other side, you've got community affairs. And of course, on my side here, after you've had a look at how high the presence is with the NYPD, This is the size of the march.
Wake up, wake up! 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 You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job, bitch. You about to lose your job, boy. You about to lose your job.
Question is, are there no real crimes happening in the city? I mean, they keep saying that their reason for being out there is because of all the high crime. If there really is such a high rate of crime going on in the city, then my question is, why would you have these many police officers? I mean, wouldn't it be better served to have these police officers actually addressing real crimes as opposed to a march through the streets? But it's what I've mentioned before, they don't need more officers. They address that by shifting a shit ton over to community affairs so it looks good and the images of them in a community affairs jacket, but, you know, just ain't working. And the more they try to cover it up, the more it keeps coming out. And eventually what's going to happen is, like the groups keep saying, they're going to end up losing their jobs. And I would advise people to download something called Citizens app and take a look at how many crimes are happening within this area that these police officers could be addressing right now.
Yo, I just got my voice message on. I'm telling y'all straight. I want to have some energy for that fucking company.
Walker's clear.
So, I'm just curious. 1, 2, 3, Nicholas, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 9, 10 with the fake community affairs shirts. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, which would be those filming. Oh, and as I always say, watch what you say because, yeah, the streams are watched by others, so. Okay, guys, here we go. This is what? If you're on Twitter, share it out to Tish James's Twitter account, as well over to Jamani Williams, Corey Johnson, who's in this area. And while you're at it, also share it out to Commissioner Shea's office, his Twitter account as well. And if you have his phone number, give him a call. Because the number that I gave you for the police vehicles just escalated for that small group, which now you're looking at in excess of 24 NYPD vehicles out here, which is a vehicle for every single person. So when it comes time for their budget again, I'd advise people to mobilize to like cut their funds, because if they have this much equipment, and anyone looking on Citizen, like I said before, will notice how many crimes are actually happening in this neighborhood right now. I monitor it constantly. And the shit number of crimes that are happening here while these officers are just walking by, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And they just brought extra NYPD vehicles up. So, understanding that there are some individuals downtown who do watch the stream from time to time, my advice to you would be to give Nicholas or whoever the on-scene commander is and tell them to send some of those vehicles away and some of the officers. I doubt you're going to listen to it, because I've learned over time that you guys are pig-headed SOBs, for lack of a better word. And you think there's nothing that can't be done. But I will tell you that I will spend the balance of this year, as this is one of the issues focused on. That means every single solitary thing that you guys are doing. And I know Cop Watch covers it, but I will cover every single solitary thing. And I really don't think that you guys want that. So give Nicholas a call, or whoever is on-site commander, tell them they need to get some of these vehicles out of here and some of these officers. Okay, let's increase the number to about 35 to 40. So that's a vehicle plus for those that are actually marching. And anyone who's been tweeting it out, I appreciate it. To do to Tish James, do @@ Tish James, New York City Council, Bill de Blasio, Jamani Williams, Corey Johnson, any of them. And if you have their numbers, feel free to give them a call and ask why are they not on top of contacting NYPD to ask why there are so many NYPD out here, as well as tag Associated Press and any other media outlet. See, now this is the beauty of it when the public sees the excess. So basically there's about 60 NYPD vehicles for this small peaceful march. And this is the stuff that the public needs to see, because my experience is people start asking questions about why there's such a high number. Okay, from what I just saw, there were alerts to at least 3 assaults within 4 blocks of where we just were. Any of these officers could have covered it if they were actually out there, but they're not, as usual. This march versus that. So how do you create oppressive system, this is how an oppressive system starts. And reasoning I'm mentioning that to those who don't know is that recently I've been going through the trials at Nuremberg, as well as a lot of interviews of those that were there during World War II, the uprising of the Nazi Party, and this is how oppression begins in any country, and this is it. To have these many officers and vehicles for this small march is oppression. And every one of these individuals have their freedoms because of people doing what they're doing today. But as always, they have a tendency to forget that. I will say for a fact that 70% of NYPD would not have been allowed on the police force 50 years ago, 60 years ago. And they think it's a joke, but they don't know their own history, and I do, just because I know people who were on the force at that time. And the words they called some of these people. I remember talking to a friend who happened to be on gang squads in Chinatown because of prostitution, opium, and a ton of other things that were going on. So shit's, you know, all over the place. Irish police officers, even though I got much respect for the Irish, yeah, there's a tendency to want to hold on and forget their past of what they went through in this country, which is even sadder considering since 1916, Ireland had been fighting for its independence. And that's going through everything up until the IRA fighting with resistance. And the English did exactly this, oppression after oppression after oppression. The students' movements in China, not to mention all the other oppression. This is a demonstration of how it starts, how it escalates over a period of time. As someone mentioned,